Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a powerful book written by Robert T. Kiyosaki. It tells the story of the author growing up with two father figures: his real dad, Poor Dad, and the father of his best friend, Rich Dad. Both men taught him important lessons, but they had completely different views about money, education, success, and life. The poor dad believed in working hard for a salary, getting a good education, and living a stable life. He thought that saving money and avoiding risks was the smart way to live. This father represents the traditional middle-class mindset. He was educated and intelligent, but he struggled financially. The rich dad, on the other hand, believed in financial education, investing, and making money work for you. He taught Robert how to build assets, understand taxes, start businesses, and create wealth. Rich Dad's ideas were very different and often the opposite of what schools teach. This book does not give formulas, charts, or investment plans. Instead, it gives you a new way of thinking about money, a mindset. Robert Kiyosaki uses storytelling to explain ideas that are simple, clear, and real. That's why it connects with people all around the world. Critically, the book has been praised for making financial knowledge easy to understand for normal people. It encourages readers to become financially literate, not just academically smart. However, some critics say that the book lacks practical how-to steps. Even so, the power of mindset change it creates is undeniable. It is not just a finance book, it's a life book. Chapter 1. The rich don't work for money. In this chapter, Robert Kiyosaki tells us a real story from his childhood. He says that when he was only 9 years old, he and his best friend Mike wanted to become rich. They were young, but they had a big dream. So they went to Mike's father, who later became known as Rich Dad. They asked him, "Can you teach us how to become rich?" Rich Dad agreed, but he told them that he would not teach them in a classroom. Instead, he would teach them through real-life experiences. He gave them a small job in one of his stores, paying them just 10 cents per hour, which was very low, even at that time. At first, Robert felt okay doing the job, but after a few weeks, he became angry. He realized he was working hard, but not making enough money. He felt like a slave. He wanted to quit. So he told Rich Dad how he felt. This is when Rich Dad gave Robert a very important life lesson. He said, "Most people work for money, but the rich make money work for them." Rich Dad explained that when you work only for money, you become a slave to your paycheck. People often keep working because they are afraid of losing their job or they want to buy things. This fear and desire control their lives. So, instead of working just to earn money, Rich Dad said people should learn how money works and use that knowledge to create opportunities and build wealth. Rich Dad also talked about how emotions play a big role in money decisions. He said that fear is what pushes people to keep working hard, even if they are unhappy. People are scared of being poor, so they take any job and work without thinking of a better future. At the same time, desire or greed makes people spend all the money they earn on things like new phones, cars, clothes, or vacations. They never learn to save or invest. Because of these emotions, most people stay in a rat race, which means they keep running in the same circle, working, earning, spending, and then working again. Robert learned something very powerful. Real learning doesn't always happen in school or through reading books. Sometimes, life itself is the best teacher. Rich Dad said that by working for very low pay, Robert would feel angry and uncomfortable, and that was part of the lesson. It was meant to push him to think differently. He wanted Robert to ask questions like, "Why am I doing this? And is there a better way?" That way, Robert would start thinking like a rich person. He would stop seeing himself as a worker and start seeing himself as someone who could control his financial future. In the end, Robert understood that money is not the goal, it's a tool. If you let money control you, you will always be chasing it. But if you learn how money works, you can make it work for you. This means building assets like businesses, properties, or investments that earn money even when you are not working. That's the mindset of the rich. They don't work harder, they think smarter. What this chapter teaches us? This chapter teaches us that thinking is more important than earning. Many people are trapped in jobs they don't like, working just to survive. They don't take time to learn about money. Rich Dad says we should not be afraid of being poor or greedy for more money. We should learn how money really works. Once we do that, we can make smart choices, build wealth, and become free. Chapter 2. Why teach financial literacy? In this chapter, Robert Kiyosaki talks about one of the most important lessons he learned from his rich dad: the difference between assets and liabilities. Rich Dad told him that if people want to be rich and stay rich, they must learn financial literacy. But what is financial literacy? Simply, it means understanding how money works, how to earn it, keep it, grow it, and protect it. Robert says that just making more money is not the solution. Many people think that if they could just earn a little more, all their problems would go away. But the truth is, even people who earn a lot of money can still be poor if they don't know how to manage it. Robert gives examples of people who get a raise at work or win the lottery. But after a short time, they are broke again. Why does this happen? Because they don't understand the difference between assets and liabilities. Rich Dad explained this in very simple words. Assets put money into your pocket, while liabilities take money out of your pocket. It's that simple. For example, a rental property that gives you monthly rent is an asset. But a new car, which costs money every month for fuel, insurance, and repairs, is a liability. Even if the car looks nice, it takes money from you. So it is not making you rich, it is making you poorer. Most people do the opposite of what the rich do. When they earn more money, they buy a bigger house, a nicer car, or expensive gadgets. They think these things make them rich, but actually, they are buying liabilities, things that look valuable but cost money over time. Rich people, on the other hand, use their money to buy assets, things like businesses, real estate, stocks, or intellectual property like books, apps, or courses, which bring them income again and again. Rich Dad also believed that schools do not teach us about money. They teach reading, writing, and math, but they do not teach how to manage personal finances. That's why even smart and educated people struggle with money. Rich Dad told Robert that he should not depend only on school for success. He must learn how money works in the real world. This includes understanding taxes, debt, investing, and how to build wealth. Another key point in this chapter is that the rich buy assets first, and only then use the money from those assets to pay for luxuries. For example, instead of buying a car with his salary, a rich person might first invest in a business that gives monthly income and then use that income to buy the car. That way, the car doesn't hurt his pocket. Poor and middle-class people, however, often buy the car first and then struggle to pay the monthly bills. Robert says that learning this one simple rule, buy assets, avoid liabilities, can change your financial life forever. But sadly, most people don't even know the difference between the two. They keep working hard for money, while money keeps flowing away from them. Rich Dad told Robert that if he could just focus on growing his asset column, the part of your financial life that gives you income, then he would never have to worry about money again. What this chapter teaches us. This chapter teaches us the foundation of being rich. Know the difference between assets and liabilities, and always work to buy more assets. Assets are things that give us money. Liabilities are things that take our money. If we can remember this rule and apply it, we can become rich, even if we don't earn a big salary. It also reminds us that schools don't teach financial wisdom. So we must learn it ourselves if we want a better future. Chapter 3. Mind your own business. In this chapter, Robert Kiyosaki shares another important lesson from his rich dad. The lesson is simple but powerful. Mind your own business. At first, this may sound confusing. People might ask, "What do you mean? I already have a job. Isn't that my business?" But Robert explains that there's a big difference between having a job and building your own business or assets. Working at a job means you're helping to build someone else's business, not your own. So Rich Dad wanted Robert to understand that even if he had a job, he should always focus on building something of his own on the side. Robert says that many people spend their whole lives working hard for someone else. They get up, go to work, come home tired, and then repeat the same thing the next day. They wait for a promotion, a raise, or a better job, but they never build anything that belongs to them. Rich Dad said this is the reason why most people never become financially free. If you want to be rich, you must learn to own things, your own business, your own real estate, your own investments. These are things that make money for you even when you're not working. Rich Dad taught that you can still have a job, especially when you're starting out. But while you are working at your job, you must also focus on developing your asset column. This means buying things that give you money, rental houses, stocks, small businesses, or even intellectual property like books or apps. Your job should be used to pay for your needs, but your goal should always be to grow your assets. This is what it means to mind your own business. Robach shares his own example. He had jobs just like everyone else, but he used the money he earned to buy small properties. He didn't spend his money on cars or clothes. He focused on buying things that would give him income in the future. Slowly, his assets started growing. Over time, he had enough income from these assets that he didn't need to work anymore. He became financially free, not because he had a high-paying job, but because he built his own business of assets. Another key point in this chapter is that we live in a world where appearances matter. Many people try to look rich. They buy big cars, designer clothes, and expensive gadgets. But Rich Dad said, don't be impressed by people who look rich. Focus on becoming rich. Real wealth is not what you wear, it's what you own. And you must own things that bring money into your life. Rich Dad also warned about something called the golden handcuffs. This means getting a job with a high salary and many benefits, but then becoming trapped. You get used to the comfort and can't leave, even if you want to. This stops people from chasing their dreams or starting something new. Robert says we should be careful not to fall into this trap. It's okay to work for someone, but never stop working for yourself too. What this chapter teaches us. This chapter teaches us to always focus on building our own wealth, not just helping others grow theirs. Having a job is okay, but we must also mind our own business by growing our assets, buying things that make us money. Don't waste all your income on looking rich. Instead, use your money to build real wealth. The rich become rich by owning things, not just by working hard. Your goal should be financial freedom, and that comes from building your asset column, not just getting a paycheck. Chapter 4. The history of taxes and the power of corporations. This chapter, Robert Kiyosaki explains something many people never think about. How taxes started and how the rich use corporations to protect their money. This is one of the most eye-opening chapters in the book. Robert says that most people believe paying taxes is normal and fair. They think that taxes help the government provide services like schools, roads, and hospitals. But Rich Dad taught him that the tax system has a hidden story and that understanding it can change your financial life. Rich Dad explained that, in the past, there were no income taxes. Kings and rulers only collected taxes from the rich or during times of war. But over time, especially in modern history, governments started creating income taxes and convinced the general public that taxes would only be for the rich. People were told it was a way to help the poor and support the country. But once the system started, it slowly became a rule for everyone, not just the rich. Today, working people, especially the middle class, pay the highest taxes, while many rich people use legal ways to pay much less. How do they do that? This is where corporations come in. Rich Dad taught Robert that corporations are powerful tools. A corporation is a legal entity, like a person, that can own property, make money, and pay taxes. But here's the trick. Corporations have different tax rules than individuals. A regular person earns money, pays taxes, and then spends what's left. But a corporation earns money, spends money, and then pays taxes on what's left. This means corporations can legally deduct business expenses like travel, cars, meals, phones before they pay any tax. That gives them a big advantage. Robert says that rich people use this strategy smartly. They set up businesses and corporations that allow them to control their money better. It's not about cheating. It's about knowing the system and using it wisely. Meanwhile, the poor and middle-class work jobs get their salary and automatically lose a big part of it to taxes. They don't have the knowledge or tools that the rich have. Rich Dad also taught that financial education includes understanding laws, taxes, and how to use legal structures to protect your money. Many people think it's boring or too complicated, so they ignore it. But this is what keeps them poor. Robert says the more you understand about taxes and money, the more control you will have over your future. The rich don't hate paying taxes. They just play the game smarter. Robert explains that many people get stuck in jobs where they repeat the same work every day. They become very good at that one job, but they never learn how to manage money, deal with people, sell ideas, or solve real-life problems. These are the skills that help people become financially free. He says people should take jobs not just for the salary, but for the experience. For example, he once worked at a sales company, not because he loved sales, but because he wanted to learn how to sell. That skill later helped him build his own business. One of the biggest obstacles Robert talks about in this chapter is fear, especially the fear of losing money. Many people want to be rich, but they are afraid to take any risks. They fear failure. But Rich Dad told him failure is part of learning. If you never fail, you never grow. The rich become rich because they are not afraid of losing. They are ready to try, fail, learn, and try again. The poor and middle class, however, often fear losing so much that they never even try. Another obstacle is cynicism, doubt, and negativity. People often listen to others who say, "You can't do that," or "That's too risky," and then they give up. Robert says that we must learn to trust our own thinking. We should do our own research, study, and then act. Negative thoughts will always come, but we must not let fear or doubt control us. Robert also warns about laziness. Many people say they are busy, but they don't make time to learn about money. They watch TV, scroll on their phones, or waste time on things that don't help them grow. Rich people make time to learn, read, ask questions, and try new things. They know that building wealth takes effort and focus, not just dreaming. Another powerful obstacle is bad habits. For example, many people pay others first, like landlords, grocery stores, or phone companies. They never save anything for themselves. Rich Dad said, "Always pay yourself first." This means that even if you don't have a lot, save a little first before you pay anyone else. That habit builds discipline and wealth over time. Finally, Robert talks about arrogance thinking. You know everything. He says the moment you stop learning, you stop growing. Rich Dad always said, if you think you know it all, your wallet will close. The rich stay rich because they keep learning from everyone, even from people who know more than them in specific areas. What this chapter teaches us? This chapter teaches us that the biggest enemy of wealth is not money. It is our own thinking and behavior. Fear, laziness, doubt, bad habits, and arrogance stop people from growing. To become rich, we must work to learn, not just to earn. We should take jobs that teach us useful skills like sales, communication, leadership, investing, and decision-making. We must train our minds, face our fears, and never stop learning. Success is not about luck hits, about growing every day. Chapter 7. Overcoming Obstacles. In this chapter, Robert Kiyosaki explains that even after learning all the lessons about money, many people still do not become rich. Why? Because they face certain emotional and mental obstacles that stop them from taking action. It's not because they are not smart, it's because they let fear, doubt, and bad habits control their decisions. So in this chapter, he shows us how to overcome the 5 big obstacles that stop people from becoming financially free. 1. Fear. Robert says the biggest fear people face is the fear of losing money. No one wants to fail or go broke. But Rich Dad taught him that failure is a part of success. Every rich person has lost money at some point, but they learned from it and kept going. Poor and middle-class people are so afraid of losing that they never even try. But those who win in life are the ones who take risks, fall, learn, and stand again. The key is to manage fear, not avoid it. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is action in spite of fear, too. Cynicism, doubt, and negative thinking many people never start anything new because they doubt themselves or believe others' negative opinions. They hear things like, "That's too risky," or "It won't work," and they believe it. They let fear grow inside their minds. Robert says we must train ourselves to do our own thinking, gather facts, and trust our own research. Don't let the noise of others stop your dreams. Learn to listen, analyze, and then act. 3. Laziness. Robert says that most people are not lazy physically. They are lazy mentally. They say, "I don't have time," but they find time to watch TV or scroll through their phones. Rich Dad said, busy people are often the laziest when it comes to their future. Rich people make time to look for opportunities, to learn new things, and to grow their money. Poor and middle-class people stay busy working for money, but don't spend time thinking about their future. For bad habits, bad money habits are a big obstacle to becoming rich. One big mistake people make is paying everyone else first: bills, rent, phone, shopping, and never saving. Rich Dad taught Robert to pay yourself first. This means setting aside a small amount of money as savings or investment before paying anyone else. This builds discipline. Even if it's hard at first, it teaches your brain to think differently about money. Wealth is built from good daily habits, not just big one-time decisions. 5. Arrogance. Arrogance is when people think they already know everything. Robert says this is dangerous because it stops learning. Some people are too proud to ask questions or learn from others. But Rich Dad taught that real knowledge comes when you admit you don't know something and you're open to learning. The rich stay rich because they keep learning from books, mentors, advisors, and even from their mistakes. Robert explains that these 5 obstacles, fear, doubt, laziness, bad habits, and arrogance, are not outside enemies. They live inside. As if we don't fight them, they quietly steal our success. But if we become aware of them and take small steps daily to defeat them, we can build a better future. Financial freedom starts in the mind first, not the bank account. What this chapter teaches us. This chapter teaches us that success is not just about learning, it's about doing. Everyone faces fear, doubt, or bad habits, but the rich overcome them by taking control of their thinking. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be aware, honest with yourself, and willing to grow. You can learn to manage fear, ignore negativity, stay focused, build better habits, and stay humble. If you do these things, you are already on the path to wealth. True power comes when you take action with the knowledge you have. Chapter 8. Getting started in this chapter. Robert Kiyosaki gives readers a very important message. It's time to stop only thinking and start doing. He has already shared the key ideas for becoming rich, like understanding assets, avoiding liabilities, overcoming fear, building financial knowledge, and taking risks. Now, he wants to help people take the first steps. Many people read books, go to seminars, and talk about success, but they never actually take action. This chapter is all about how to begin the journey toward financial freedom. Robert says the first step to getting rich is not earning money, it's having a strong reason or purpose. You need to know why you want to be rich. Your reason must be bigger than your fear. For example, maybe you want to take care of your parents, send your children to good schools, live freely, or help others. Whatever your reason is, it must be clear and emotional. That reason will keep you moving forward even when things get hard. Rich Dad told him, without a strong reason, you'll give up when the road gets tough. Next, Robert says you must choose what you want to learn. Not everyone needs to become an expert in everything, but you must start somewhere. Maybe you want to learn real estate, investing, or business. Pick a field and begin learning with focus. Read books, talk to people, join groups, and take small steps. Don't wait to become perfect. Start learning while doing. The best education comes through action. He also encourages readers to use their emotions to grow. If you feel envy when someone succeeds, don't be ashamed. Use that emotion as fuel. Let it push you to grow instead of bringing you down. If you feel anger, laziness, or fear, use those emotions to understand what is stopping you, then fix it. Emotions are not bad, they are signs. The rich learn to listen to emotions, not obey them blindly. Another step is to choose your friends carefully. Spend time with people who encourage growth and financial knowledge. Don't stay around people who only complain or blame others. Talk to those who are doing better than you. Listen, ask questions, and learn from them. Rich Dad told Robert that he became rich because he surrounded himself with people who challenged him to think bigger. Robert also talks about the need to give in order to receive. He says that when you share your knowledge, your money, or your time, you grow. Rich people often give more, and they receive more in return, not always directly, but through new opportunities and strong relationships. Giving teaches trust and abundance. And finally, he gives a strong message. Start small, but start now. You don't need a lot of money to begin. Start by reading a finance book, saving a small amount, or buying a cheap property. The point is, don't wait. The more you wait, the more time you lose. The rich don't wait for the perfect moment. They create it by taking action step by step. What this chapter teaches us that the real change begins when we take the first step. We must have a strong reason, a clear goal, and the courage to begin. Learn daily, act bravely, and don't let fear stop you. Choose the right people, give more than you take, and trust the process. Even a small step today can become a big success tomorrow. The journey to wealth is not about speed. It's about starting and not stopping. Chapter 9. Still want more. Here are some to-dos in this final chapter. Robert Kiyosaki gives his readers a list of simple actions they can take if they truly want to start their journey to financial freedom. He understands that many people read books, get motivated, and then go back to their normal routine. So, in this chapter, he wants to give people clear steps, not just ideas, but small actions that anyone can follow. These steps are simple but powerful. They help readers build the right mindset and habits. The first thing Robert says is to stop doing what is not working. He reminds us that if we keep doing the same things, we'll keep getting the same results. If we are struggling financially, we must stop blaming the world and start asking, what should I change in myself? Maybe it's how we spend, how we save, or how we avoid learning about money. Whatever it is, we must be brave. Enough to stop bad habits and build better ones. Next, he tells us to take responsibility for our future. This means no one else is coming to save us, not the government, not our job, not even our family. We must take charge of our own life. Rich Dad always taught Robert that freedom comes with responsibility. If we want control over our money, we must take control of our decisions, learning, and actions. Robert also suggests buying books, attending classes, and talking to people who know more than you. He says, don't be afraid to spend money on your education. Many people spend hundreds or thousands on shopping, gadgets, or parties, but they feel bad spending money on a course or book. That's why they stay stuck. The rich keep growing because they invest in themselves first. He adds that it's important to take action, even small steps. You don't need to buy a house today or start a company tomorrow. But maybe you can save $10 this week, or read a new book, or meet someone who knows about investing. These little steps will grow over time. What matters is that you start doing something now, not later. Another tip Robert shares is to look for someone who has already done what you want to do. Learn from their journey. Ask questions. Follow their advice. Rich Dad always told him, if you want to be rich, learn from the rich. Don't take financial advice from people who are always broke. Surround yourself with people who challenge you to grow. He also reminds us to teach others as we learn. When we explain something to someone else, we understand it even better. Robert says sharing your financial journey with friends or family can help you grow. It builds your confidence and helps others too. And when you give freely, life gives back in surprising ways. The last thing Robert says is, just start. Don't wait for the perfect time or perfect plan. There is no perfect time. The world is changing fast, and if we wait too long, we fall behind. Rich people take action. They make mistakes, learn fast, and keep going. The poor and middle class often wait too long and then do nothing. So if you still want more from life, don't just think about it. Do something about it. What this chapter teaches us. This chapter teaches us that success starts with simple actions. If we want a better life, we must stop bad habits, take responsibility, invest in our learning, and take small steps every day. Learning is important, but doing is more important. There's no need to wait until you feel ready. Start now. Grow slowly. Stay hungry. And most of all, believe that you can build your own financial future. Because you can. If you found these life-changing lessons helpful, don't forget to like, share this video with a friend who needs it, and subscribe to English Tone for more easy book breakdowns. Comment below what's one financial habit you want to change today.